Hi everyone, welcome to yet another Tabular design review meeting. So, I'm not a believer in this extended key system thing. If we're going to do this, why don't we just have a thing called tabular key?
Are you proposing to rename extended key in general?
No, not at all. Extended key is a thing that relates to user-defined keys. This is something that has nothing to do with user-defined keys. These are reserved words, right?
Well,
Correct.
only the prefix is reserved. That's why I was proposing to use extended key, basically, so that there can never be any clashes, and most of the times you can just use hash whole tabular.
So, because the semantics is that hash will pick up things
If there's
from
only
extended
one
keys.
whole tabular, it will pick up. You don't need to specify a prefix.
I think it's a hack, but I mean,
Well, that's the same hack we use for symbol names. Yeah.
well, the other thing we could
No,
do
no more, no
maybe
less.
would make it more palatable if we could say something like that first element could be something that is not a string, for example. I'm not sure if that necessarily helps us, but I think it makes it a little bit less obscure. Like
Yeah,
all, for
Right.
example.
Right. It's not really the same hack that we use for symbols because, right, that's a real context, right? And they're still symbols.
Right. Right.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying the
Right,
same
right,
because
right.
those are not symbols, but
There's no key.
it's
There's no key called system in the tabular.
well, the proposal of Carlo is that there is always a key called system in the tabula that contains
it's not a
these
key
columns.
called system; it's a prefix called system.
Yeah, it's a prefix. Yeah, exactly. There's always a prefix called system.
The key is called whole tabular, or row number, or whatever. But it doesn't have to be. It can be any, like the prefix doesn't have to be a string. It can be any symbol or any. It could be a graphics for all I care. Like it's fully symbolic, right?
Look, the main objective here is to be able to use hash whole tabular, right? That's the main reason you're proposing it this way.
Yeah.
Plus the other. And the advantage of this is that you don't have to change the semantic at all compared to referring to any other thing.
Well, I don't know. It seems like a hack to me. I mean, maybe we should say extended key of all, comma, whole tabular,
Why all?
because it's a symbol.
Anyway, why?
I would use tabular at this point.
Yeah, I would use
because
tabular.
It's about
that's terrible.
the whole
We
tabular.
can't do that.
Okay.
I don't like this very much. I think this is going to get us in trouble. I think it's just like supplied, basically. It's a thing very much like what supplied is trying to do, right?
Yeah, but we could use something like that for supplied as well.
Something like what?
Like this, extended key. Extended key work in associations as well.
What does it do in a generic association?
Well, it works the same. Like if you use extended keys in a generic association and there is no collision, then you can just use the last part of extended key.
No, that's not been done for association.
So that's what you guys were just saying.
Oh, that's
Right.
what Carlo was saying.
It's not yet been done, but we approved it.
Okay, so you're saying if I say extended key foo, comma, a, arrow x, extended key, is this the syntax? Do I need any other syntax here?
No. But I don't know if it's been done yet.
No, it's not. I just checked. It's not implemented yet. But the idea of it is in tabula, where you would just have to say A or B.
Much harder to do for association than for tabular. I mean, it's the same thing. It involves changing the fundamental data structure for association.
And the point for association is then that rather obscurely, you could end up with two A keys in association, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So what do we do?
Well,
Like
it's the same
let's
point
say
for-
that you merge two associations. You could merge with some function that creates extended keys instead of
Okay, so
deleting
what do we
one.
do in this case?
In this case, A will not resolve. You have to say extended key X, comma A.
No, what do you
Well,
mean it
and you
doesn't
could
resolve?
get-
What does it do? If I do this,
Yeah, I think in that case, if you just do A, you'd get a missing that says ambiguous
okay,
instead of not found, like not available, whatever it is, missing key, whatever. This is like more ambiguous key.
Although it's a little weird to call it missing when when the problem is that there are too many.
I think this is not properly thought through. Look, I think you should call it tabular here, if it's anything.
Could be internal. Something we have
No.
internal backtick.
Well, what if,
No.
what if we made, as an alternative, what if we made supplied work, so you do transform columns of blah, of tabular, comma, new column goes to supplied around your function.
Well, what would that actually look like? Let's say supplied.
We'd have to give the elements that we'd want supplied, right?
I don't think we should be designing supplied in this meeting.
Yeah, me neither. And I also,
So
I
does
also think
so
that
the supplied is not really, I was looking at the ref page for it, but it's not really designed yet then, is
No.
the answer. Okay,
I
fine.
would favor this with an all here. Or maybe an automatic there.
Yeah, I think do we want something a slightly more obscure thing like inherited? I don't think either all or automatic maybe, but it's still kind of weird.
It is weird. This whole thing is weird.
Right.
There's full, for example. It's another obscure one.
Well, I think inherited is would be better than either. Well, certainly
Yeah.
better than full.
because you're the whole tabular is certainly all or full, but the next row, why would it be all?
On some level, it should be like information, but you probably wouldn't go for that.
No.
Um,
Yeah,
None?
inherited makes, I kind of agree with you, Itai. It makes
Because
sense.
inherited, like, kind of, we haven't used it that way, because inherited just means taken from the outer scope.
What about none? Right? We're looking at the not any part of it.
No, I think none is wrong, because you might expect that something like none behaves like nothing may be there and then gets deleted.
That we have a symbol called anonymous.
Really?
Introduced in version
No,
11.
that's an attribute for variables, isn't it?
No. Represents an option or other value that indicates the absence of a name.
My God.
And the one example is using find
Channel
channels.
buffers.
There are no notes, and the one example is using find channels.
You know,
If-
I've started to like inherit it more and more because this is
Yeah.
something that you get without having done any work for. So you inherit it. I guess maybe it's too much of a political commentary.
I liked automatic. It sounds like kind of a default behavior type thing.
Yeah, you get it automatically all the time.
Yes,
Cool.
I kind of agree. And you'll probably never type this because you'll just type hash hold tabular.
Yeah, and the likelihood that this collides with something that comes from an external data set is very low. And you probably want to rename it right away if you're using both.
Well, I mean, things like length. What the hell does length even mean? I think they've got to be whole.
Well, length is constant. You get everything like for all rows, length is the same. It's the length of the column.
I mean, it might help if we said tabular row number. If we called it, that will reduce the chance of a collision and make nobody ever look under the hood to see how this is actually working, more or less. And I don't even know what length means. What does it mean?
It's a
Number
constant.
of rows.
It's the number of rows for the
Okay,
whole.
well, so why don't we say, I mean, tabular row number, but now what is the
tabular row count
total
would work.
rows? Total rows or tabular row count?
Row count.
Yeah.
Okay. What's row fraction?
It's row number divided by row count.
Okay.
Possibly -1, but there's two versions. One is 0 index, one is 1 index, but you can decide which one to pick.
I think it'll be okay if we add the word tabular here and treat this as quite experimental.
Yeah, I mean, we the thing is, I think it will be pretty useful for us for implementation. We might even decide not to document it right away.
All right, fine. Extended key, automatic, and then everything has tabular in the name.
Okay.
And this business about caching them, that's an internal implementation issue, and we should make
absolutely.
it right.
Yeah. No, but the column, the point about ordinand squared is that if you start, instead of using column-wise value, you use these, you have no guarantee that what you're typing is not n squared, because there's no automatic caching of the things you compute out of this stuff.
Well, why don't you just compute them? I mean, I understand. If you say whole tabular, cache it.
No, that's not my point. My point is, like, for the thing, remember last time we were looking at, you compute the mean of a column, right? If you use column-wise value, you have a guarantee that that mean, since it's constant, it will be computed only once. But if you write your own mean by using whole tabular, blah, 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 divided by length, whatever.
I see.
No guarantee that that's going
but
to.
We agreed on column-wise value. Is that right?
Yeah, this is another thing.
Right, column-wise value.
And column-wise thread.
Yep.
They're already.
Okay, good. Okay, let's go on. Ready to go on?
Yep.
Okay. Delete missing.
Okay, so this is something that we left out because it's not a new function. And we realized early that it was difficult to extend. But then we also, while talking to Carlo today, we thought that it would be weird not at least to think about what you want to do with this. So delete missing has a problem for us with Tabular. It is designed with an expression in mind. So it's thinking about a tree. Yeah, it has, by default, it deletes what is missing at level 1. So if you nest missing in, they're not deleted, which is my second example. You can decide at which level of a tree you will be deleting missing. And you can also say, if you have a missing in the subtree, delete the whole subtree at a higher level, which is my last example. Delete missing blah, 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 1,2. So basically the 2 comma missing gets deleted because there's a missing at level 2. Yeah, so none of this is useful for Tabular because Tabular, you never want to treat to basically destroy rows. So you only want to look at level 1. And what you want to do for Tabular is typically mainly 2 things, like delete a row if every element is missing, or delete a row if any element is missing. With some special case of you might just be looking at some columns that are more important that you want to specify. And it's kind of clunky to kind of fit that design in the current delete missing design. So yeah, one possibility is that we kind of use special symbols or strings to extend it.
There's
Another
no
one is
way
just
we're going to use
simply
discard. There is just no way. No way. What is
Wait,
discard?
is already in. It's
What
the
the hell
opposite of
does discard
select.
do?
You approved it. It's the opposite of
It's-
select. It's
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
discard is
we had
select, not
about 3
function.
weeks ago. We had a long
Okay, that's
discussion
fine.
about
Yeah,
this.
right. Okay.
Okay.
So maybe we should have discard missing. I don't know if we can't have delete because delete missing tab all goes into the level spec, and it's not a level spec at all. It's more the third argument of delete missing.
Okay, so the real things you want to do, remove a row if it's all missing. Do you ever want to remove a column?
No,
Are you sure?
I mean
not?
that's not the way you do it. But I mean these
Well, how do you
functions
do it?
should be row wise. I mean, if a column is all missings, you remove it by saying A goes to nothing or something like that. But it's not. It's not.
no, but it's not a stupid question actually. Like you could
Oh, it's
say
Yeah.
didn't say
delete
it.
a column which is all missing, or delete a column that contains some missing values. I want only to deal with the column. The reason why is stranger to think about it this way is that you are basically destroying the shape of your data. You are not destroying examples. Like column are more dominant in terms of semantic, but it's not something completely impossible to be able to do. To be wanting to do that is just not as common, I think.
Okay, but let's look at, I see Ethan on our live stream mentioning deleting failures as well as missings. I just wanted that literally yesterday. I was using confirm and close. It was beautiful, but I wanted to delete the failures that had come from the confirm. Actually, I was going to look up.
Discard, it's actually the nice way to do that. Yeah, you just replace missing queue with failure queue.
Yeah, but still, delete missing is a very nice function. I use it all the time. I mean, I should know, and I don't. For enclose, if I wanted to,
Well,
any failure, so you say nothing ampersand. You just say failure, blah, 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 nothing ampersand. And that will, if the thing that is enclosed, if the resulting thing, right, this is a list. Right, if you say, how do I generate a failure? Well, oh no, that's not what I want. I want enclose for each I need to confirm on each of these, right?
Yeah.
What the heck? Why didn't that
Yeah,
work?
you remove confirm. You should wrap the if should be wrapped in confirm probably to simulate what you want to do.
Also, I don't think you need the ampersand with nothing. Like
Yeah.
nothing be applied to things.
What's that?
Match brackets.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, this is throwing. Yeah.
You confirm. You probably want to confirm inside of the
And you also want the enclosed inside of it.
inside
Otherwise,
of
it's not going to work.
Oh yeah. Okay, fine. I'm writing a silly piece of code. Okay,
Yes.
but that's the way that you can get, rather than generating it and then removing the failure.
Hmm.
I mean, there's a certain argument that we should have a function delete failure, just like we have delete missing, and have it be a bit more general. I'm not sure. I mean, look, otherwise I'm just doing delete cases of underscore failure.
Yeah.
Okay, but what you're saying is,
Or discard failure too, depend. They both have an operator form, and they can both be applied on a list.
okay, so
But
how do I delete? There's a delete rows function, yes? No, what is it called? What is the
no,
function?
discard. We designed that for this reason, yeah. Or you want to positionally delete
No,
rows.
I want to, wait a minute, discard. Wait a minute, this, at the top level, select can select a row, correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
I mean, select with the function, yeah, because select will basically scan through the rows.
Select is applied to the rows. If the select of a tabular tests the function on each row.
Exactly. So the tabular is seen in its normal form, basically, as a list of associations. You can imagine it that way.
Right.
Okay. All right. So this, I don't understand. I mean, it will be totally bizarre to have a discard missing that basically does the exact same thing as delete missing. Right. So let's just try to understand what you're talking about. You're saying, I want to delete a row if there's anything missing in it. I want to delete a row if it's all missing, only if it's all missing. So, I mean, clearly, this will work. How common is this operation?
All true, not. I mean, I'm now speaking about data that comes from a relational database. I can't speak of other imports, but usually, you're not going to have multiple rows that are all missings. It's otherwise there's something horribly wrong with the data. It's relatively common to say delete any missing or any missing out of these three important columns, which are the first can be done, the second no, with it missing. Like,
okay, so I think that case seems much more important. The case where if there was no name in that field, for example, in that record, then just delete the record.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The any true is also useful if you are piping with some analysis, and you know that your algorithm cannot handle missing. Yeah, so that's the safety step.
Yeah.
I see. Okay, so let's see. Where the things of relevance are delete any row that contains any missing, etc., indeterminate, whatever else.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. And the problem is that we've kind of cooked our goose because we're using transform missing. So the natural thing would be a delete missing, but we already used delete missing for something that works on ordinary lists.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which again, there's nothing wrong with ordinary lists, like select, discard, they generalize fine. Is more like tree versus the data set. Yeah.
Yep.
It's the level spec that is annoying here.
Well, the level spec is annoying because it gets in the way of having something. I mean, so this is a possibility, right? Is to put a special second argument. That's a bit of a hack.
Yeah,
right?
which
Really
is what I had
level.
at the top. Yeah, and what Carlo was saying, like it's a hack.
Mm-hmm.
And what would delete missing do by default in that case?
Well, nothing, because delete missing by default is delete missing, 1, and tabular is always a list of associations. So that you cannot have an association with missing in every key is not equivalent to a single missing in place of the association. So you can never fit the bill for the one argument for.
Okay, all right. So hold on. So, what other functions do we have that deal with missing? Just transform missing, right? For tabulars.
Especially with missing, we have synthesize missing values, but yeah, that is a completely different beast. And missing fallback is a new one that introduced that deals with missing as an expression, not as a stuff contains missing.
Okay, and transform missing is something that replaces the missings with something else. So we've really got two cases. We've got to, if there's a missing, just get rid of the row. I mean, there's things like this, I suppose we could consider.
Well, at that point, it's probably faster to add a new value in the second argument of transform missing, so that the operator form is like transform missing nothing or transform missing delete, discard, or whatever.
What is it doing then? So
we could have transform missing kill the whole row as a special operation.
How? Because this is just saying what to do with a column with something that's missing. The C column is missing.
By default, it's using the same operation of all the columns. So I guess if you do that with transform missing, it will be basically any true, unless you.
I don't understand. If I say transform missing, and then I say a tabular here, and what would you imagine was happening here?
So let's do a simple case. Let's say A goes to delete, for example. Let's pick a random string here. Yeah, like string A rule delete. Yeah, so the any other operation would be like in the column A, replace the missing with this operation. So I guess this operation would be, instead of imputing it, just remove it. And given that you cannot remove an element without removing the row, this will cause the row deletion. So basically, this is equivalent
it might not cause row deletion. It might only be in a particular operation you're doing. I see, because this is transforming the whole tabular.
Yeah. You cannot punch a hole in the tabular, yeah. So you need to remove the row.
Could we combine this with a discussion about like deleting the rows in
general?
Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking.
Because we have, we could kind of think about delete rows, and then you can either say, I can get if it has missings.
Yeah, exactly. Or if it's greater than 17, delete the row.
The condition,
but that's discard.
But that's discard. It's exactly discard with a slightly longer name. And the condition you would put in the second argument is exactly the same as discard, because it's the predicate. What you were saying, yeah, greater than, stuff like that.
Why is that? I don't understand. How do you discard?
Discard
I see,
hash
I
A
see.
greater than 2.
Hash A
Bam.
greater than whatever. Okay.
So I put discard here because I mean, if the cleanest way we have to do this is discard, maybe just let's
Yeah,
use discard here.
I mean, discard, and then
So
you
I
know,
guess you
we
say,
could have
yeah, say
any
tabular.
missing, all missing.
Yeah.
See, if we did that, if we had functions any missing and all missing,
With a Q at the end, I mean, is this returning true false?
well, it's like all true and any true.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I
any
don't
missing
quite know how that would work. Hold on. How would that work?
well, any
any-
missing would just expand to any true of missing Q. I mean,
Okay, so what would it be? Any missing of A missing B would give true. But what does
Exactly.
all? Go ahead.
No, exactly. And all missing of that list will give false.
Right.
But teaching 2 new symbols is enough added value compared to not expanding all true missing, not having a shortcut for all true missing Q.
yeah, doesn't.
Especially considering that if you teach people all true missing Q, then it's easy to teach all true failure Q, or all true odd Q. I mean,
Yeah.
it generalizes very well.
And the one other case I've seen, and this is when we had Truman working as an intern showing his, data science stuff. And one was, delete rows with more than say 5 missing. And that works with discard, with count. It's more complicated, but you can do basically anything you want to do with discard.
All right, then let's just do that for now. We'll pencil in talking about this further if it seems like one's doing this all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. What's next?
I want to do a quick review on what we have yesterday for transform missing, so we can hopefully close the design. So I put here all the string that we have. Mean, median, mode was kind of uncontentious, if I remember correctly. I had a random string that you proposed to replace with random element.
Yep.
So after a discussion with Carlo, we thought, like, do we want to actually split between random choice and random sample?
Yes.
So to distinguish with replacement, without replacement.
Well, I mean,
And
random sample,
yeah.
I don't understand. It's going to use up other things once.
Exactly.
Is that the
And
point?
so that has the implicit problem, like, what do we do if we run out of elements?
Missing.
If you have like 10 missing elements and 2,
Missing.
it stays missing. Okay.
And the point of that is
it the same missing or a new missing?
probably a new missing.
Well, every electron is the same electron.
I mean, this missings for which you don't have elements will stay missing, and you may just issue a message that we ran out of your options because there were too many missings.
Okay. Does random sample actually make sense? In other words,
now that I'm telling this to you, I'm thinking about that. Like, if you do you get any beneficial properties of not putting a replacement in? I'm not sure. Like, it's basically a data set with maximum 2 copies of each element.
I don't think it makes any sense.
No, yeah. Now that I say this aloud, it was more like a language consistency than actually.
I don't think it makes sense because your thing is you're calling a random sample. You wind up with multiple copies of various things, which is not really a sample then. So I think it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's true. That's
right.
true.
Random element.
Let's stay with one random element. Okay.
Okay. Random variate.
Random variate, yes. There is the one with the distribution after it is completely fine. we were floating, do we want the naked string?
I think
And if so, what do we do? Christopher was suggesting sample from the normal distribution, which is fine as a fallback, but then we have the type problem. Like, what if it is a column of strings? Stays missing. Do we define
Stays
a
missing.
default distribution for every type?
I think we should try to define a default distribution for every type. Yes, I think we should try to define a default distribution, but for strings, that's tough.
Well, if it is a categorical column
Then it's
with
fine.
the category list, then it falls back to random element, I guess.
Yeah, maybe
No,
strings
it-
should just be random element.
No, I don't think it should be random element. I think it should be random element with the inferred distribution. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, but isn't this infer distribution exactly like calling random choice? That will respect
Oh yeah, I guess that's right. That's
the
right. In
statistics,
that case,
I think.
it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. So yes, I think random variate should be type dependent and should try and do something sensible. And I think it will be widely used.
Okay, I'll make a table. Yeah, I mean, in general, I think yes, if we can find these pockets where like maybe a string setting can be beneficial. It could also suggest functions sometimes, I think. Like when we have stuff that does the right thing for every column type. I think Tabular is going to be a good test case for these scenarios.
Mhm.
But yeah, I can come up with a table where for every type I propose something here.
All
Okay,
right.
then at the end, what do we do with the estimated distribution syntax? Do I put it in? Yes, no? The naked variables.
What naked variables? What? Oh, the
Random variate
MS.
normal distribution MS.
I'm not a fan. I would prefer to see blanks there, if anything.
I think blanks it's easy to implement. Let me try.
Okay.
And then the rest.
Maybe you could treat it as equivalent and just let's not document the symbols there. Because I
I'm
can
not going to
imagine
move the
something where you
symbols.
say a such and such, a such and such distribution with 18 degrees of freedom, and you put the 18 in there, and the other things are blanks.
Yeah. Okay. Then we canonicalize to next previews and not backward forward in terms of look at the previews and the next no missing element.
So when
I
we call
think
it
that was
next
also-
element, then let's call it next element, previous element,
Okay, fine.
along with random element. Okay.
Yeah, that goes well with random element. Yes. Interpolate. I also think that's not problematic. There's
I
going to
don't
be
think it
probably
should
an
not be called
extension.
interpolate. I think it should be called. Shouldn't it be called? The function is
Interpolated.
Interpolation. Can we call it
I think it should be
interpolation?
interpolation.
Okay, interpolation. Fine.
Kind of like it's a random element or it's an interpolation rather than.
Yeah,
just
no,
demand
that's true.
interpolation.
We're always using a noun here. Then that's the
Okay,
verb.
these seem
Correct.
useful, sensible.
Okay, the only thing that I see here in terms of extension for interpolation is if we have something time series like where one column of a tabular becomes the
To be
time
honest, I
column.
think we'd be better off putting the interpolation order as an option to transform missing, rather than putting it in that weird list form there.
Is it used in any other case? Not that I can think
Interpolation
of.
order? It's used in interpolation.
No. Yeah, it is used in any other case in transform missing, except for interpolation.
Not
Well, the
right
other-
now,
the
unless
other-
we had something that we could use for the distribution here.
The
Is there
other
any
thing is,
option name? Yeah, go
the
ahead.
other thing you could also use a method for interpolation. So having this in that list maybe makes sense to group them as options for interpolation together.
I have
Just a note.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, there are other options for interpolation.
But Giulio, apart from the, you were saying time series, but in general, if you have something that is like a scatter, XY scatter, can you give columns to interpolate and mean only interpolate Y based on X or something like that? I mean, what
Well,
would be the syntax to do such
to
a thing?
interpolation the function, yes. In this design,
No, in this design, I mean,
Right. So you're doing column-wise. All the missings are being demystified column-wise without regard for other columns. That's the basic point, right?
yes, we need to think that could be an option. Piggybacking on what Goja was saying, instead of interpolation order, we could have something that is
Okay,
is telling you what is a reference
listen.
column.
This is getting crazy. I mean, okay, there is a missing in column 7.
Uh-huh.
It obviously makes sense. Why isn't there a mechanism for filling that in from column 6? In other words, if the location, if the city location is missing, fill it in from the country.
Okay, instead of creating
Oh,
crazy syntax, that's
missing
exactly
fallback.
missing fallback. So
Yeah.
if you do transform column with missing fallback, you get exactly this behavior plus any other special sugar that you want to put on top.
Well,
And
maybe we could
I'm going to
allow
have
missing
examples.
fallback.
I'm going to
in-
have examples of these in the documentation page. We just want to avoid duplicating the design for
No,
no
I understand that,
reason
but I wonder if
and making it
transform
more
missing
difficult.
should allow. I mean, if you say quotes A, what could there be a function on the right-hand side there? Yes, there can be, right?
There was, and we remove it to simplify the design, because then you have the thing, when do you apply the function to the whole column? When to the whole tabular? When to the single row? When do you evaluate the function immediately or not? There's a lot of questions that come with allowing the function.
I see.
And I think the design is much tighter
Okay,
now
then,
that we
then
remove the
let's
function.
not try and do multi-column stuff for now.
Okay.
Okay.
well,
Let's have it be local to that column.
Okay. Cool. Okay, now we have a tight design. I think this is also mostly implemented.
Okay, all right.
I have a sorry, Julio, but like I have a couple of questions about like do we treat in all of this the date columns as the same as the numeric columns? Like is there any kind of basically random variate with the using Unix times basically and then converting it back to dates?
Well,
or
I have to
transform date
check
distribution?
in the statistics
There is
framework.
a
Mean
random
works.
but there are lots of statistics functions that work now on the dates, and also you have random date, random time if you would like to simulate dates and times.
Yeah.
But
And-
are
and
distributions working on if I do, can I
there
fit a
is
distribution on a list of dates?
no, there is an object called date distribution and an object called time distribution, which you can distribute the dates and times. And if you want to use estimation, you can also estimate over the list of dates and find some
then
parametric
that looks like
distribution for that.
That looks like a sensible default for random variate.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yes.
and the other thing I was wondering is like for strings, I think probably not terribly useful, but something like random word might come up.
Look, here's what I would do for strings. Okay. I would look to see if there are, I mean, with some heuristic, I don't know. I mean, arguably the heuristic could be dangerous. I mean, with strings, if they're like a big thing with 2 different strings and that's it.
I would argue that in that case, we should be smarter with the type system and have that as a categorical column, not as a string, like a generic string column.
So maybe random variate just doesn't work with strings initially. I think the idea, I mean, it could be a genome string, it could be this string, it could be that
Yeah.
string.
I mean,
Could be
like
almost anything.
for data from the wild, I would treat string same as expression, something super wild. Because this is also how people use it to store arbitrary stuff in an
Yeah,
unstructured
and I
form.
think by the time we're making a random variate of that arbitrary stuff by training a learned distribution on that thing, it's going to be just garbage. So we
No,
should
but
do better
Exactly.
I'm
around
not
in that
saying
case.
I'm not saying just random. I'm saying like as an option for strings, we have a function random word. So we could have the string run the word.
I'm aware. I'm
Call
aware.
that function, and that's it. I'm not saying estimate distribution over strings. That seems crazy to me as well.
Yeah, but
I think
random
we should
word is
just
not going
skip
to
it.
cut it because it's. I mean, how often a string is going to be a word compatible with
Let's
random
just
word?
not do it. We don't need this. We've got enough
Yeah.
features as it is.
Yeah. If
Just
somebody
don't
wants
do it.
random word, they can, you know, insert a column
Yeah,
of
Yeah,
random word.
missing fallback,
That's
whatever.
Missing
Yeah.
fallback.
That's how
Yeah.
you call
Yeah.
missing fallback.
Okay, now can you open the last one before anomaly detection? I think it's in terms of time is more relevant. Okay, here.
This one.
Yes. Do we want all these functions? And I think yes, to support a tabular column. I mean, and in general, you know, are we gonna push for functions to support tabular column? Because I'm putting here some example about how you could use these together with column-wise thread, which we just added, to you know, pipe stack. If you're already
I mean,
inside
this is
transform
not
columns.
this is not a reserved word, right? This is just you just made that up, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying how can we pipe these functions in transform columns? And with column-wise thread, you know, these functions can easily be fed individual columns.
Yeah.
And you can create new, because the point is, this is the syntax to create new columns in
Right.
the tabular
I
using
agree.
the
So
output
I
of this
think
function.
I think we need a lot of list-based functions capable of taking a tabular column. I mean, I would even argue, if it was possible with up values, that we should just have the thing, you know, look at a whole, you know, up values for tabular column, basically listify itself if it doesn't know what else to do.
Well, yes, but it's that can be dangerous, and so we have to figure out cases where it should not. And I've set up, for example, a good example of that is free Q of some expression, comma underscore tabular column.
You mean
I see your point.
that will fail if we
Well,
up
that-
value the hell out of things?
Well, if you listify the tabular column,
No, I
that
understand.
fails,
Then your goose is cooked at that point.
right, exactly. So that's where you have to be careful, is for stuff like
Yeah,
that.
but I don't think that Simon was saying let's do it for every function. It's like let's have a list of
Well, I
functions where
was
it's
kind of saying
sensible.
that, but I think you just inventory what functions this makes sense for.
Yeah.
Well, there is an inventory of that, and you know, I'm adding to it continually, but there's a fairly big inventory, and I've, you know, we'll have a way of, I'll set up a way of registering functions that should just listify in the upcode for tabular column. That's not too hard to do.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Okay. So, well, we have 4 minutes, so I don't think this is why I left anomaly detection for last. If you want, like, just to tease your brain with what's to come, you can open that. So last time I was explaining, also in the last 4 minutes, what's our current stack for anomaly detection. So the whole idea is that right now we have like, speaking from a tabular point of view, we have a single way to deal with anomalies, which is you train a distribution with learn distribution on the whole tabula, yeah, and then it's a probability-based way to discard them.
I know, but you don't want to have to train it.
Well, you kind of always train it, yeah, because if I say interquartile range or z-score,
okay,
you have to compute a mean and a median, yeah. It's just a very fast, stupid training. Also, there is here, like, let me make a point of distinction between the mindset of machine learning and statistics. So statistics is like, you have a single way to apply it. You do, you know, find the outliers based on
you don't make a function
exactly
the z-score applying function.
Exactly. While the machine learning point of view is you train it once and then you apply it.
Well, actually, to be fair, you know, in statistics, if you're trying to work out sort of p-values based on some, you would find the distribution and then work out p-values for observations. So it's not actually that different.
No, it's more like that is done in place. Yeah, like the statistic point of view is you do a computation and then you use it immediately. The machine learning view is that is a special case of training and applying separately.
I know.
Anyway,
so what do you need to do here?
So here,
anomalies. Yeah, go ahead.
Exactly. So here we have, you know, the current design of find anomalies is this with the one argument form is training and then applying. So this is the one in place, basically. Then you have two argument forms, which is example prop and function examples. I don't know why it's called data here, which is the one that lets you use a pre-trained one, basically. So barring the weird argument order here, my main issue with design here is that it feels weird in the experiments I've made to stack together univariate and multivariate things here. The new one that we care about, that are very simple and very used, are applied on the single column. Now, what happens when you have multiple columns? Do you apply the univariate one to all of them, and you do an AND, an OR, like any true, all true? Do you switch to the multivariate for the method that allowed that? Like you could have a circle, like an interval becomes a circle, or an ellipse.
Hold on. First of all, we've got. I mean, what would we naturally call find anomalies if it was? It's finding anomalous rows for a given column. Is that correct?
Yes. I mean, on a tabular column, again, implementing this on a tabular column is trivial. You have a method, you find out which element of the column is anomalous based on the method. So again, using find anomalies in transform columns is also easy because you plug the row or you add the column, with all the binary flags based on the specific row value compared to.
What are you going to do with the columns with rows that are anomalous?
Okay, so this is where it becomes a bit wilder compared to missing, because depending on what you do, I mean, anomalies, unlike missing.
Why aren't we calling it transform anomalies? And why aren't we having it define?
We have a tentative design for transform anomalies that carries yet a larger syntax problem, because then you have to specify column, where, and what. Yeah, like column A, then
I know. And what makes
where are the anomalies exactly, and then what you do with that. So the general case starts to get big. I left this as a final thing because I'm still working to find good proposals and good ideas here about the design.
Giulio, I think that the what column could be solved if it's not something that you ever apply to a whole tabular.
To what?
Like to a whole tabular. If it's something to be used either with transform columns or insert columns, then
but okay, first it's weird. Second, I'm not fond of having too many new symbols that only work in transform columns.
I'm not saying it only works on transform columns. I'm saying this in general would work on lists of things. And so you plug it in.
Okay, hold on.
If it works on lists, it works on columns.
One very basic thing is this. I would like to take a tabular and both find those things which are anomalous in the tabular and return a tabular, which is the anomalous rows in that tabular. Or I would like to just say, hey, anything funky going on, just throw it out. And return a tabular.
This is already in the design of find anomalies. If you open it, the prop argument, if you open the current one, it has anomalies and then non-anomalies, which is basically the two things that you wanted. That the Boolean list could also be, we could also have an anomaly mask, which is now the bit vector, which is a more modern way to return an actual bit vector than a list of true false.
Okay, listen, look, I don't understand why find anomalies of a tabular with perhaps some additional properties there wouldn't be a fine default. Now the issue is, what's the method of finding the anomalies? Right?
Yeah. I'm just worried about the messy design, the clash between the single column and the current default, which is the whole tabular thing, basically, the multivariate distribution.
Well, I mean, why not do this? Why not say, okay, why not do something like this? Find anomalies. tab arrow A, for example. Because you're going to have to specify the column, aren't you? And find
Okay, so
anomalies of the
instead of
tabular
the
in
second
general.
argument, you put it in the first argument.
That's what I'm suggesting. So you say which thing you give there, and then you say, okay, then it's the prop. Okay. Now, were you to give a function, what does the function return? I mean, you might be able to say find anomalies, and then it's a whole elaborate function that applies to the whole tabular, and then the tabular, and then the prop.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a
anomaly
reason why
detect?
the only function that you can put here, anomaly detection function, is a wrapper around linear distribution.
Okay, but
It's simply
you could put any
applying
other
linear
function
distribution.
there. I mean, we could put a function that says, I mean, that's where I think we need to look, because that, I mean, if we had a function that basically means, you know, that is the z-score thing, okay, how would I remove elements from a list that are above some z-score value? Okay, do you understand my question?
Yes, I would say I would do pick of list, comma standardize of list, and then in the pattern you mean, or like unit step of standardize of list minus something. That's the efficient thing I would do. It's probably a less efficient, more easy to type thing that you can write.
Well, but I would like to suggest that this is a function that might be useful anyway. I mean, this is like standardize, except it isn't standardize. I mean, standardize, I think,
is the absolute value of the element of the list minus the standardized. No, sorry, is
no, it's trying to make the mean and variance 0, 1.
Yeah, but it
right. So it's trying to make the variance 0, 1. So this would be
yeah, but it's exactly the element minus the mean over the standard deviation. Yeah, Goja?
Yep.
Yeah, it is. It is for
Yep.
that case.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is,
by default, yes, by default. Yep.
I would like to say something like outlier. Let's say remove outliers. Okay, of a list, and then it's something where it's a z-score thing or something else, some other criterion.
Mm-hmm.
How do I compute? I mean, with respect to a list, it's very similar to the anomaly detector. With respect to this list, I learned the distribution, so I know how to define a z-score because I know the distribution in that list. You get what I'm saying? And now I come in with my anomaly detector, and I'm saying my anomaly detector is I've got this list, I know what a z-score means, any element that's more than 17 is z-score greater than whatever it is. See what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that function is pick. Like select from a list based on another list.
No, pick. I know, but that's not what we're doing. You don't have to.
So you want to remove them, or you want to change the value?
I'm not sure. I'm not. No, I don't know. I mean,
because it's either they're this kind of two concepts, like trimming. So you can trim the list, if it's above something, or windsorizing. And in windsorizing, you operate on the quantile, on the
yes.
which is related to this values.
Well, I think what we want. Find anomalies normally returns a list of anomalies or something like it. They're based on that prop argument. Transform anomalies is something different, relevant for tabular, where you're doing things with the anomalies. And transform anomalies should also work on a list, I think.
Yes. We could also have delete anomalies and find anomalies are like kind of subcases of transform anomalies. Okay, I'll put together transform anomalies, and then we see with this idea of the tab goes to A. Yeah. And then we see if the design holds.
Well, and find anomalies. Find anomalies with tab goes to A.
I will yeah, I already have a code for
Tabular
there. Yeah.
And I think that having a function other than a machine learning, anomaly detector as the first argument, or anomaly detection function as the first argument of a find anomalies makes perfect sense.
In that case, does it have to be a probability distribution to respect the thing with a certain threshold and whatnot?
Perhaps so. I mean, what does
Like if you put a
what
normal
does it
distribution,
return? Okay, hold on. What does it return? What does the anomaly detector function return?
True false. But you can also put in a learned distribution in there. Yeah. So I mean, I don't claim that the design is the best design here. I don't love it. It's very ad hoc around anomaly detector function and learned distribution.
No, but this true false thing is also, that's like a given, if you have look, if what you have as the first argument of find anomalies is p-value, do we have what do we call p-value? Is it called z-score?
No, we don't have p-value. But we could even go simpler at this point. We could have height greater than like 20
is
feet.
less than
I don't
0.
know. Exactly. Well, if for tabular, it's going to be like hash height is less than 0 is an anomaly.
Yeah, I understand. But for just a list in general, it will be something like this.
Yes, correct. We can generalize this a bit.
And I have no idea why we shouldn't allow this. I mean, this seems like an obvious thing to do.
Yeah. In this case,
somehow,
a certain threshold will not make sense, but we always have the true false. Yeah. So it's not a soft thing. It's a hard thing.
Sorry, what? For what? Which?
The find anomalies being built around anomaly detector function, which is in turn built around rare probability. It returns true false by cutting at the distribution at the probability value.
I understand that. But
so in this case, we will just ignore a certain threshold, and it will be a hard problem.
No, I don't think so. I think what we should do is, if you provide those things, there are additional things given to this function, just as there presumably are for anomaly detector function. See what I'm saying? See this? Look at this.
But I don't understand your function, what it should be provided or returned.
No, I'm saying
in your case,
when there are options to the find anomalies function, okay, or when a prop is given, then here, instead of just having a #1 that is the data, that it also has
but that function is one that is produced in the property, that is produced in the rare probability. So it's not a matter of what is fed to that function. What is fed is always the data. That function, instead of giving a true false, it gives you, I don't know, a curve, and you get true false by cutting that curve, by thresholding.
I understand, but I'm saying that look, just I think that you can flow through from find anomalies. The prop argument of find anomalies can be flowed through to whatever is there in the first argument, whether it's an official anomaly detector function or whether it's an arbitrary user function.
Okay, I understand what you say, but I don't think that lies. Let me circle back to this in the next meeting because we're over time.
Okay, all right.
I will come with the implementation.
Sounds good. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. See you all soon.
Thank you.
Okay.